Hi, I'm Melanie Miller with Lewis Prest, a candidate for City Council.
An independent candidate for City Council. I only mention it because it may be historic. I don't think it's ever been done. I don't think there's ever been an independent for any public office here in Erie.
Interesting. I did not know that. Okay, before we get into the tough questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I don't usually tell this part of the story, but I just turned 57 years old. As of August, I've been married 32 years. I have 3 grown children that make me the envy of most men my age in this town because they stayed in Erie. They all found good jobs. I guess family was important to them. But I know men that their children are scattered to the 4 winds. And every time they see me, and I see my kids every week. So that's pretty awesome. I own my own home. I live in downtown Erie. I've owned it since 2003. I do that because I prefer not to be car dependent. I like, as you know, I like to ride my bike, I like to ride the bus, I like to walk, and I can't do that if I live in Harbor Creek.
That's true. Okay, why did you decide to run for City Council?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I never had any ambition for public office, and I don't know why. I just never really wanted it. But oddly enough, my family and friends are the ones that have kind of boosted me into this, and they've been talking to me for years saying, you should run, you should run, you should run. And I said, no, I don't think it's for me. And I guess at one point I said to them, well, when the time is right, I'll know it. And apparently this was the time. The other thing that happens is that I have worked the polls for many years, and I'm always discouraged by the low turnout. This past time, in the May primary, we had at least 6 people running for judge, for city council, for school board, and I'm on my way to the polls like a 12-year-old naive boy. I'm like, this is gonna be the one, we're gonna have a big turnout, it's gonna be awesome. And it wasn't. And I ended up walking back the same way I always do, kind of sad. And the interesting part of it is I have looked into this, I have researched this, to the point of having the former Democratic chairman, Bill Cole, sitting in this chair and did a half-hour show with him. But more than that, I talked to the voters. And I'm like, why? Why aren't you voting? I saw people that are what we call super voters in my district didn't show up in May. And I'm asking them why. Why is this? And the answer they gave me to a person is, we just see the same old faces, the same old names, and nothing ever changes. And I said, okay, I'm a little bit different.
That's your cue.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're qualified?
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of experience. As you know, I work at the International Institute of Erie now, but prior to that, I was in the warehouse business for many years, even to the point of being the warehouse manager. And so I had the opportunity to actually manage men, money, and inventory. And I never lost a dime. I did lose a couple of guys because they didn't want to come to work. I had guys call me, oh, my car's broke down. I say, okay, I'll send somebody to get you. They didn't care for that. And so, I just have that history of being able to deal with numbers and to deal with people and to deal with situations that arise that weren't expected. And I think that'll serve me well on city council. The other thing I would say is that I was a part of this very station for almost 20 years, and I ended up joining the board. I ended up resigning, or my term was expired as board president. And so in that experience, I was able to learn how to build a quorum, how to get ideas together and choose the idea, the direction we want to go, and things like that. So I think that makes me kind of uniquely qualified to be a city council person.
Sure. Why should people vote for you?
Well, there's a number of reasons for that too. One of them is that I have basically had years, almost decades, probably decades, of community service under my belt. And this is kind of the next step for me, and that's how I got to this station. I was in print for a while, I was in radio for a while, and then television was the next step. And so for me, this may be very well the next step. I again, I did a lot of community service through this station for years and years. And I mean, it's not just that. I've been involved in our West Bayfront. I was involved with the Boy Scouts of America for a while. I was assistant scoutmaster. I've led youth groups. And just, it's hard to explain except to say that Erie has been very good to me and to my family. And for that reason, I have tried over the years and consistently to give something back. And I would continue to do so as city council person. And I guess I would add one other thing. If I were elected to city council, I would listen to the voters. You know, I feel as though, and I talk to the voters, and as you know, I had to go circulate this huge petition and talk to people, and I'm still talking to people. And I think a lot of them feel like their council person or their elected officials just aren't listening to them. And I think that's part of what turns them off to the voting process.
And when you were going out in the community circulating your petition, and you were telling me about all that, you know, every day you come into work and we would talk about it, it didn't seem like it was that much different than what you have always done, because you're always out doing things.
Talking to people.
Right. Right.
And it was kind of enjoyable. I would say this, win, lose, or draw, this was probably the best experience of my life to date, because I had no idea how many people are supportive of me. I mean, you're just really fortunate to hear that, because I think it happens to a lot of us. I think that we have an effect on people that we don't realize, and maybe we'll never see that person again. And somehow or another, some small thing we did changed their life. And I've seen it happen, but I never thought I would have the opportunity to hear it, to get the feedback from it. You know, when I was out doing this, I ran into people that I did some small thing for 20 years ago. I don't remember what it was, but they did, and it made a difference for them. And so that was really uplifting to me, and I hope to continue that.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. What can you bring to the city of Erie that you haven't already done, of course?
Well, I'd like to bring some new ideas and some new vision to the city. We have to change the way we run things here. And we hear a lot about we should do this and we should do that. And the problem is the city's basically broke. I mean, we are beyond broke. And people still want to spend a lot of money. We have to look at new ways of doing things. And it's not just a revenue side, it's a savings side equation. We have to employ both of these. And so one example I have that's a very unpopular opinion of mine is, you know, we can't just keep raising taxes on people. We need to find a new form of revenue. And my idea since the Slovakia administration was these red light cameras. And the nice thing about them is the studies have all been done. We don't have to pay another $50,000 for a study, and I hope we never have to do that again. The studies have all been done. It improves public safety by 21%. It's proven. And beyond that, they pay for themselves in a very short amount of time. And after that, guess what? It's just a moneymaker. It's just revenue into the city treasury year after year. The traffic engineer will know where to place these, and they'll have to be moved because people get wise, and that's where the public safety thing comes in.
Right.
But so that's one idea, and the thing I would say about that is that when I first started talking about this idea, everyone said, "Louis, that's too Big Brother. How dare you? How dare you spy on my crazy driving?" And I say to them now, dude, listen, go walk downtown. Just go anywhere downtown.
There are cameras
Walk
everywhere.
into Walmart. Go anywhere you want. There's cameras everywhere. You're on camera everywhere you go. Oh, by the way, we're on camera right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a moot point. It's a bad argument because the cameras are out there, and in fact, the police are using the footage to get convictions. You know, if I go downtown and knock somebody in the head for $5, somebody's going to have that. The cops are going to get it. They're going to use it, and I'm convicted. It's just that simple.
There's always complaints about, you know, when something happens and the police are looking for somebody, like the cameras are terrible, or you can't find anybody, or there are no witnesses.
Right.
I guess
Well,
it's an extra point.
honestly, the cameras are getting a lot better now than they were. And the other side I would say to this is we need to find ways to save money. And this is probably going to be another unpopular opinion. I mean, you can only cut costs so much.
Right.
You know, and for a while they were talking about, let's work together, and I can't remember the name of it, the community projects where we all bought in the same bulk and whatnot. And that can do some, but it can't do everything. What we really need to look at is moving away from this old pension system and move like every other corporation has done, practically every other corporation or business has done, and move to a 401k system. And the city can contribute something to that, but not just the whole boat. It's just ridiculous. Nobody does it anymore. Anyone who's been in business knows that your highest cost is employees and personnel. And out of that, a lot of that is the benefits.
Right.
You know, it's not just the hours they work, but it's the hours after they're done working, and it's their medical cost and things like this. And things are so tight for us. Again, the city is in a really bad spot in terms of financials. But I don't want to make it sound too negative. We're on the cusp of some really great things going on. We have a lot of large nonprofits, small nonprofits, large business, small business, making investments in Erie. And this is going to help. This is going to boost some of our revenue, but we also need to be responsible. You know, if you make $80,000 a year, which I'm sure you do, you know, you have to budget that money.
Right.
You can't just say, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to spend this 80 and I'm going to borrow 40 more, and then maybe I'll float a bond for 60 more. You know, no normal person does that. And so it's ridiculous to think that we should keep doing that. I mean, what's the definition of an insanity? Doing the same old thing and expecting a different result.
Right.
So I think that's about all I have to say on that.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight.
And thank you for having me. And I will say this, you know, I would appreciate your vote, but you, as of this date, which this will probably air later, you have 1 week left to register to vote. And if you don't vote for me, that's okay, but at least get out and vote. It is your civic duty, it's your civic responsibility. And if you don't vote, and then the people that you didn't want to get elected, I really don't want to hear you complaining on the radio or in the paper with your letters to the editor. It's your responsibility. And it's also your responsibility to make an intelligent decision. It's up to you to research these candidates and see which one best fits in with your line of thinking, so to speak. And so this is the last thing I'll say is this is one of the reasons I have chosen to run as independent, because I don't necessarily fully agree with either party. You know, I think you can be fiscally conservative, as I've spoken of, but you can also be environmentally conservative. And a lot of people don't think of Republicans as being environmentally conservative, and probably they're not right now in terms of the national picture. But you can do both. And you can help everyone. You can take, as many of us do in our normal lives. You know, people come up to us and they say, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. In fact, what most of us do is take what we can use from this person, and then maybe some other thing they said, we'll just let that go. And then we'll take what we can use from that person, and then let the rest go. And I think it's a good way to be. I think it's okay to be down the middle and try and look out for what's best for everyone.
Yep. I think that's a good idea.
So thanks, and good night. I hope to see you on November the 5th. Better yet, November 6th on my win day.
Yeah.